Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Coding and Seal. I'm your host, Johnny. You may have seen me before, maybe it's your first time here, although I doubt it, because you have to be a real interesting sort of person to join these things, where you see principal software engineer or former principal software engineer that's now living the life in Barcelona, code things for fun, try out things like SvelteKit, front-end frameworks, like Astro, stuff like that, and trying to have fun together with the audience. Hello to everyone in the chat, hello to everyone watching regardless, I appreciate all of you for sure. And let's get straight to the agenda to explain what exactly we're doing here. So the past few weeks we've been expanding on this TechieCat website, where you can go around, check out some ideas that well, contributors can contribute and add, but I'm the only contributor here, so I'm the only person that can actually add these ideas. But, you know, feel free to scan them, feel free to start them. We've built this functionality in. And then if you have a free weekend, some learning time from work or something, then feel free to try to implement them. Maybe using some technology you haven't heard before. Maybe a new framework or maybe something like Xstate, which we went over the other day. But in the past few episodes, in particular, we've been building a memory game. That's the card matching game that I loved when I was a kid. And I've been sending to my friends, telling them, hey, I made this, click around, what do you think? Do you like it? And they've been liking it. You've been liking it as well. You've been watching. So we'll keep expanding. And I will probably be doing something different soon. And regular videos are also coming up. So what we've done lately is we've added sound effects with which I have muted down a little bit, not quite muted, silenced slightly, so they won't be popping off in your ears, hopefully today. We've been displaying whether you're on the daily mode, where you get the same seed, the same board every day, but a different board every day as well. Kind of like how Wordle works. So if I refresh, you'll note that these will be in the same place, and I know that. And we have a nice visible counter for when you make wrong guesses. And that's about it. When you win, you're told, good job, you won. But in order to make any game successful, I think you need that competitive edge. I think you need the gamification of something. And what I'm thinking is that we'll start tracking your highest score of the day, which will actually be your lowest score, your lowest turn count, and your streak. So Wordle style will know if you've done the one the previous day, and if so, we'll increase your streak and say you've done 2 in a row. That's amazing. And we'll be persisting that using cookies. So just in the user's browser, nothing super fancy there, but still super interesting, because thanks to audience advice, I have switched the way I use cookies with my SvelteKit app recently. And finally, we'll be adding leaderboards. So when you have a high score for yourself, so maybe when you've made it to like 0 guesses, or maybe 1, 2, doesn't really matter. The first time you play, you finish the board, and every time after where you beat your highest score of the day, will be submitted this to a database. And I've been using Supabase for authentication and for persistence. So the ideas I showed previously all live here, and I add them with a CRUD interface that we've also shown on stream, but I can actually just go in and insert a row manually like a savage or like a pro engineer. You really need to be a pro engineer to directly connect to production. And similarly, we'll probably be creating a new table here with row level security, which is another interesting thing to get into. But until then, we have a lot to go. I didn't break down the steps of the day too little for them to be small. So we'll see. It doesn't look like too many steps, but it's actually going to be quite big. So went over the game, the memory game we've made. I will go over how we're doing auth with Supabase quickly, so you'll notice that I'm logged in as someone. I can change my display name here. If I had an incognito window open where I'm not logged in, Then, if I try to go to the profile, I get redirected to login page. If I click this icon, then I also go to the login page. And the only way to authenticate for now is with magic link. So I put in my email here, I get an email to that email, I click the link, and with some fancy redirects and cookie settings, I validate that this user was indeed the one trying to log in. I will be creating a funny username to start with, which then you can change to something, so long as no other user is using the same username. And that's what we're gonna be displaying on the leaderboard, I imagine. I won't go too much into the backend, what exactly we're doing to make the Supabase auth work at this moment, because first we'll be trying to do the high score personal tracking while you're not logged in, or even when you're not logged in, it will still work if you are logged in. But it does work the same way, kinda. The theme toggling works, whether we remember your dark or light mode setting or your sound effects setting, which we've added in the previous episode. We store it as a cookie. We have the session cookie. This is encoded to be information about the user, and then gets validated using the Supabase API to see if it's a legit JWT, JSON Web Token for the user. And we also have this refresh session token. So if it looks like we're close to the expiry date of your login, we refresh your session behind the scenes, so you get another week to be logged in and not have to go through that email flow. So ideally, you only do the email flow once and you keep playing this game and you never have to re-log in ever again. All right, with that, I think we've done the token. I think we're ready to go through to the coding part. So I do have my editor set up here. This is the same app, but it's running on localhost right here. So I can make changes and they will persist. I hope everyone is having a lovely weekend. I hope everyone is having a lovely Saturday. Let me know in the chat if this is interesting, if you'd like to see something else, if you'd like me to prepare something else for next week, or whenever we're gonna be streaming again. If you have an idea for a video, please let me know. I do jot everything down and act accordingly. So, after this pensive sip of coffee, I'm gonna start my focus timer here. 25 minutes of focus, but still, if you have something to say, please do let me know. Keep me on my toes, give me help. I know I'm gonna need it. The idea is that we have a section, I suppose, where after you've solved the board, it tells you that your highest score for the day is X, how many wrong guesses you needed. And that should be our start. And as a reminder, I do rough research and agenda breakdown here before the streams, but don't put too much thought into it, so you can see me figure stuff out live as well. Cool. So, track personal high scores with SvelteKit specific actions, not Svelte actions really. Let's say form actions and cookies. So, much like we have our refresh session and session and sound effects cookie here, we'll want to have a cookie called something, which signifies your last guess sound, wrong guess count, your high score, your day's high score, something like that. And we'll have a look at how we'll be setting the cookie. But I imagine we'll be setting the cookie. This routes games memory page plus page is the thing that renders this UI. Inside it, it has this board component that it's rendering. And let's check where the win condition is determined. And it is determined here. So we check whether the board is solved. And if yes, we play our confetti animation with Lottie, play a sound effect, and that's it. And I think that's the point where I'll want to hit a backend and set that cookie if needed. Like I'll need to hit the backend, and then the backend determines whether I should set a cookie if I don't have one, or if I've beaten my score, something like that. And later in the episode, hit the database to persist my high score if I am a logged in user. So somewhere here should be like hit backend with score. And all of this, I guess, if you are determined enough, you can hack, which is fine. If you want to hack it, you can hack it. Much like Wordle, you can cheat with local source and that sort of thing and say that you have a 100% success rate, or, you know, better stats. You took fewer guesses than you needed. You can open in incognito mode and keep trying to find the word and then get it first time. It doesn't really matter. Like, all these high scores are just for fun, just to get you a bit more competitive with it, and therefore allow the user to have more fun. So if someone can mess around with the JavaScript or whatever to fake a high score, it doesn't really matter. But it is going to be here. This board component is rendered in here, so it's either going to be in there, or we also pass a handle win, and then we have our logic here. But we know that we'll be passing how many guesses we needed, and I wonder, we have our wrong guesses. I guess it's bound. So I guess we do have the wrong guess count. So maybe just as pseudocode, hit games memory with, like, somewhere. GitHub Copilot is having some suggestions that look almost right, but not quite. So hit it with a post, and yeah, we'll want to JSON stringify the wrong guesses. So hit our backend somewhere with how many wrong guesses we needed, and that would be the thing that will be responding back with the cookie to set and tell us, all right, now set a cookie that for this day you've taken this many guesses. And do I need to send credentials include or something? Probably not. Not for now. But the question is, where do I put this backend? We have a page server component here, and the way SvelteKit currently works, we can also have action components. So for starring, for example, as you've seen me before, starring ideas, I have this page server component that exports some actions, and you can star and unstar as you please. But now we're not gonna be doing a form submission, really. So even though I do really like how the actions look in SvelteKit now, and it is related to specifically this page, can I get away with submitting it as a form action? Like, maybe I can do like a hidden input type of thing once again. But would that be too cheeky? Maybe, not sure. So, but then, where else would I be putting in this endpoint? I can make it a standalone endpoint, but probably not. I only want this page to be submitting high scores. I want someone to be on this page and play the game and get out there. So maybe I do want to pass down something here, not in the board, to pass down something to the board to say handle win. Video Copilot says too much. Let's call it handle board solved. Let's put it closer to handle reset. And then the board component. Handle board solved. And then we just call it after we've won. And we can pass it down here. And I'm doing all of this because I want to have a hidden form. Or a form with a hidden input. And I am doing this to also show the Svelte accents, how they work now. Method should be post. And the action should be persist score, and it should have a hidden input with a value of their own guesses. The name is going to be wrong guesses again. And I will want a reference to this form because I want to submit it. And the way to get a reference, we've done the reference creation with HTML audio elements. But we don't want quite that. We want something slightly different here. And we've done it for the confetti animation, rather. The confetti container. Alright, so let's see how we do it. We just bind this to whichever variable. Alright, so board solved form, or what do we call it actually? Persist score. So the persist score form is gonna be this. We're gonna bind this to the persist score variable we created. And I'm hoping this means call this HTML form element. Yeah, looks like it. Which is gonna have a submit. So when the board is solved, I want to submit this. And because the form has a persist score action, it's gonna try to look for actions from pluspage.server.ts. But I don't think that's quite how this works. So if I look at my ideas stuff, maybe an idea card. Yeah, so it's after a question mark. Let's look at the docs actually to make it a bit less likely that we get it right. So form actions, it's not going to be the default action. And if I want a different page, then I do this. Right, so if I want it to be on this page, but be the name of an action, then I need to do it like this. So the action is actually going to be question mark / persist score. And that I go back to the ideas server TS. All right, just type the sections. So if I export, we have this huge load method which runs on the server before we load this page. I export an actions object, then I can also type it as action, I guess. Oops, don't need this. Can type it as action from types. Actions. It's gonna be here. And once I save SvelteKit, the dev server is gonna create it for me this type magically, which is cool. And I want to export a named action, which is gonna be this. And maybe Copilot is somewhat correct. Maybe not. Maybe I don't need any of the things it's suggesting. But it looks like the actions do have the request. And they do have cookies, which that's what we said, isn't it? We said that we'll be setting a cookie. And I just need a further refresher. Maybe back to the docs. What do the actions return? Do they return nothing? They can return success true. We'll want to get something. We'll want to get the wrong guesses count from the form data, from the request. And indeed, we'll be using the cookies object here, the cookies API here to set something, which is grand. And then we return a success true. Is that new? Things do change every so often. We'll probably not need this because it's a hidden input that should always be fine. We won't be doing a redirect or anything like that. And then progressive enhancement and all of that, we won't really be doing anything. All right, so let's think about this again. We want to return success true in our action at the end, but even before, we want to check something and return invalid through the helper, but even before, we want to get the email, not the email, sorry, the wrong guesses, this thing, the hidden input. And if that for some reason, what does this return? So I guess even if it's the string 0, so if you needed 0 guesses, that's still truthy, unlike 0 itself. So that should be fine. Can I use this helper? Let's call it the same thing. And now that we have wrong guesses, we can set a cookie. The cookies helper here. But we don't know the key for this cookie, and we don't know the value, what are we actually going to be storing there. Today's high score, and we also need to remember the path. Now for this cookie, the path could be like memory game related, like game's memory. So if we have like a high score of a different game, then we don't need to read it. Or it can be site-wide. Doesn't really matter. Just hold it in this path. But we need to remember this path if we want to delete the cookie somehow at some point. That's something that has caught me out when doing auth stuff, for example, in other cookies, that usually you want to set the path to / so it will be available throughout your domain, but you also need to set the same path if you want to delete a cookie that's set on an explicit path. So remember that, and also delete here, and also secure. By default this is true, but it shouldn't be, because Safari acts weirdly with secure cookies on localhost. So we only conditionally set it to secure if we're not running on HTTPS, or else Safari fails, and therefore my end-to-end tests, not my end-to-end, my playwright tests also fail. So keep that in mind. That's something that playwright has caught for me once again. So we can reuse that. And the expiry, how long do we want this to last for? On that other place, we can see that I'm using max age of 10 years because it's the theme, I guess, the theme toggle. I remember this for 10 years. 10 years at least. So maybe we don't want to remember this for 10 years. Maybe 1 day is enough, or like 2 days is enough. So we can remember this for 2 days. Where else would we use it for? Maybe 1 day is enough because it's already the day. You're solving the board for the day that it is when you solve the board. So the 24th of September in this case. If it's expired by tomorrow, you don't need it because it should expire when the day switches over even. Which is quite interesting. So do we need to, like, for sanity's sake, do we need to store a little object saying that your score for this day was this? And it will store maybe today's, maybe last days. I think so, because I think that may cause problems. All right, so max age, it's never gonna be found. 1 day in seconds. Wrong guesses. Another type of check. And what am I actually going to store here? Maybe the date has is going to be something. Should the front end be telling me this? I'm not sure. The date is going to be something like, you know, this. And maybe what I want to store in the cookie is the date has and the wrong guesses count, let's say. Let's use it here. Cookie, it's a high score cookie. High score. I do camel case with a cookie, so let's keep that. And the value, I want to JSON parse. JSON stringify, because we can only do strings. High score cookie here. Right, so about the date has. We are doing a seed. If it's the daily, we get the current date seed here. Do we return it? Yes. So I think maybe we should have the front end tell us. Give us the seed. In which case, let's get the seed from here. Then the high score cookie has the seed, the wrong guess count, and that's it. And all we need is another hidden input for seed, and the seed is from being magically loaded. It's going to be from the data here, so we can do data seed. SvelteKit knows that exists. All right, my little timer went off, so let's review what we've done and give it a try and hope for the best, and then think about it some more. So my plan is that once you solve the board, I will sneakily be submitting this form that the user cannot actually see unless they inspect the elements, unless they expand the HTML. SvelteKit should be doing some magic to actually look into the current page's actions. They will be living in pluspage.server.ts. It will be looking at the actions object and will be looking at the persist score action because that's what I've specified. It will be submitting this form a seed and the wrong guesses, and I'll be getting that from the form. I'll call this form data because there's tons of data. If there are no wrong guesses, if there is no seed, I'm not gonna actually be using this validation thingy, but hey, we are gonna be return an invalid. We just want something to say we couldn't persist your stats, or maybe we'll silently do nothing, who knows. But if the form, if the hidden form does submit correctly, we turn this string input value into a number. We have a high score cookie, that's a JSON object that we stringify into, well, that we turn into a string. And we set it to the high score key. And then we'll be doing more stuff with it. If we have that cookie, we'll be doing more stuff. But for now, maybe that's it. Maybe all we need is to solve the game and hope that a high score cookie appears. Let's check the path. It seems correct. All right, let's give it a go. Can I fit everything on the screen while having the inspector? Guess not. Oh well, just want this to be visible on the screen. Oh no. Well, let's not do too well because we'll want to beat the high score afterwards. So we did set it, which is great. It is available to us, but because we didn't enhance the form, we also got redirected, haphazardly redirected. And I guess that means that we need to move on to the next step, but let's take a small break, given this went off. And I always code better if I do take these breaks. So another chance to let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you have plans for this weekend. Next week, I'll be streaming on Friday again. Hope to see you there. I may be doing a midweek stream, but I think I'll try to get a Discord server or something set up so I can more easily broadcast when I'll be broadcasting in advance. And I'll be trying to do more game development with real engines, like Unreal Engine, but probably Godot, I think is the first thing I'll try. I don't know enough. I've been programming for, decades, but not into game dev and game design and all of that. So I don't know how interesting it would be for you to watch me try to figure out Godot and how to do things in those game engines, given my expertise is TypeScript, maybe PHP, probably not. But at some point, I didn't know JavaScript or TypeScript, I didn't know PHP, I learned all of those things, so maybe I'll learn Godot script, and it's fun for you to watch me learn it on the fly. I do think the coding parts are the easiest ones. Maybe that's the case for most tech, to be honest. But maybe the more fun ones are the design ones, like the creating sprites or models and animations and that sort of thing, which I'm really bad at. So that I probably will not be doing live anytime soon, but maybe in the future. So we're still on tracking the personal high scores. We are using form actions and cookies. I predicted that one in the end. But we're not doing anything with that cookie we're setting. And I guess we will be able to parse this and it will have what we want inside, but not guarantee. Does this mean that it took me 22 tries to do this? Maybe. But next steps would be to use the enhance. So let me get the timer, little timer again, cover the phone and get to it. So a progressive enhancement, we can just pass an enhance, and maybe that's it. We can pass a method here to do something, like, you know, optimistically do something, but maybe not. Maybe we will need it to specify our latest high score or something. But for now, for this form, if we just use enhance and bring it in, it should save us from the reload. But now that we have this high score cookie, let's say that we want a section maybe here. What would we say? Best of the day? Don't really know. It's not going to be a form. But it should be below this. Right. So maybe here is the today's best score. And I don't know what the key would be. But if it's 0, then we should be quite happy about it. So your best score today. Your best score today. We'll want the backend to tell us this from the data. So let's make this bigger. Again, go look at the server. We've set this cookie, and I'm hoping that on our load method, we can use the cookies helper again to find out, to get the high score, really. And just want that. It's going to be this. We can pass a decode method here. So let's call this high score and return high score as data. Say today's high score. And just high score will do. Just to see what we got there. And now back on our page. Let's say it's this. All right. And this is a string representation of JSON. Let's see if we can go back to the server and actually do pass a decode method here. It doesn't look very decoded. But maybe it is, and that's just SvelteKit trying to protect us by decoding this. So this is the high score object. Let's say that the actual high score what did I call it? Guesses. Didn't you parse this? Didn't you run this through the decoder? Shouldn't this be a JSON object? Should this always return a string? I guess. Alright, so forget about decoding. Let's call it high score cookie. Once again, high score object will be, if we have a high score cookie, JSON parse this, or null, let's say. And if there is a high score object, then it's the wrong guesses. Is that so? We double check yet again. What's the value here? It's wrong guesses count. Right, so our highest score for the day was 7. So this kinda works. But I don't really like this serialization or whatever. Maybe I just want the high score cookie to be something we made up. Let's have it be like the seed. Then like a pipe. And the wrong guesses count. Which means that then we can just split the high score cookie on the pipe and get the second element. And here we can say, do you have a high score? If yes, we can even parse this. It's going to be a number, or else we return null. So let's try to win again and see what we get. We still went through the form submission, which isn't great. And did we not reset the? Did that not work? Looks like the answer is no. Let's unset the cookie. Which reminds me that we only want this section. If there is a data high score. Maybe we want to show something to encourage the person to play, but maybe not. And we're using enhance here. It looks like it won't reload the page, but who knows? Some hot game in action here. Yeah, it will try this for some reason. Oh, interesting. The seed seems to have this. It does save it, so it does work. I wonder why the seed starts like this, really. 22, 2022. What have I done? What is happening here? So let's look at the server. And the seed is this. Let's inspect and find our form. With this action, this looks fine to me. 2022, 09, 24. And it says to want to save this. I'm still stringifying it. Silly me. So you'll have to watch me do it again. Hopefully it will get better. But still, why is this reloading? Is it because I don't have like a success? Use enhance. I don't think so, but I will pass an empty action here. Just to check. I'm starting to remember things. Oh dear. Yeah, it tries to reload regardless. I wonder why. Is it because... I don't know why. But if we look at the quickie now, it looks a bit better. I guess it has the escaped slash here. But so the %7 is the slash, %7c is the slash, and then your count is just 1, which is good. Validate all data. Do I actually want to do it when I click a button? When I click the replay button? No, I want to do it even without. It says here just without full page reloads. What can I do to tell it don't actually invalidate anything? Invalidate nothing. Who knows, we'll figure it out. But first, let's figure out how to only update this when we've got a better score, not with a worse score. So back in here, we should have our own guesses count, and we should have access to the existing cookie. So maybe we can have a helper method here. And I don't know what GitHub Copilot wants me to do, but what I actually want to do is pass this method the cookies, SvelteKit, get this, and return a high score. And maybe the first part should be the seed. Seed. So get high score for seed, you give it the seed. Persisted seed. And then, if the seed you gave me is the persisted seed, then you return the high score, or else you return null. And maybe even parse this so it returns a number or null. So get the high score for seed. Let's do all of this. High score is get high score for seed, and this. What could the seed be? Can be undefined, it says. When is it undefined? Here? I see. Yeah, I'd rather do this then. So if no seed, turn null immediately. Also, we got the high score. Okay, so we return that. And we want to do the same thing here. Or current. So we have access to the current high score. And if the current high score is less than our own guesses count, it's higher, sorry, it's higher, or let's do it the other way around. If their own guesses are fewer than the current high score, then we want to set the cookie and do all of that. This is a number, what's this? Maybe null. Right, so if you don't have a current high score, or why does this thing TypeScript correct once again? That's in everything. So let's delete this cookie. You'll have to watch me beat this thing twice. I'm trying to not commit to memory what I've done, but we could use one where we don't do that well. So our best score has been persisted as 11. Looks quite clean in the cookie. And the question is, if I do beat the high score, what do I get? So it does get updated correctly, but if I don't beat it, not quite intentionally doing badly. Right, if I don't beat it, I don't overwrite it. Which is pretty good. That's what we wanted. And the problem is that we kinda do the navigation once again, which makes maybe sense. Like if any form is submitted in a page, then SvelteKit is like you probably want to reload. But unfortunately, that's not really what we want. Impact. I like this joke, that's for sure. But invalidate all data on a successful response. It seems we can get away with it won't invalidate data if the response is like invalid, like this. But that's surely a hack. Surely that would be a hack. So we probably don't want this. But if we don't want this to behave as a form, then maybe the question is, why are we doing this with a form in the first place? Why are you doing this, Johnny, you madman? Just to show how SvelteKit actions work? Maybe. Yeah, I am trying to find a way to not do this. And maybe we will be using just a server endpoint in the end. Like this. Can I have a server? Maybe. Form actions are a better way to submit data. I'll believe that. But how do I get it to not invalidate anything? my timer is running again. So let's see where we're at. We are tracking these and we can move on to doing the streaks, but I do want to see if we can not reload everything. I guess this gets refetched and therefore the board gets recalculated. Yeah, so I imagine that's the problem, that our board gets resent, like this gets invalidated. Maybe if I had a different endpoint with the actions there, it would be fine. It wouldn't reload. So maybe if it was, if I nested this in Leaderboard, let's create a folder called Leaderboard. And inside, let's paste our server thingy. And keep this persist to score action there. But not have a load method for now. Not have everything maybe. Not have anything. The actions will be from there. Can return valid again. And maybe we can extract this utility method. Means we can more easily test it too, if we want. Don't export actions from here. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Import this. Import this. And my hope is that now if we go to the form and say that actually we want to do the game's memory leaderboard, is it a single leaderboard or is it like many leaderboards? I don't know. We'll hit the same action but in a different place, which will make it not invalidate the data that we have. So I don't know really, we'll find out. Right, quit, failing. Focus, Tony. Maybe we can use an internal load method or something as well. Something has started throwing me off massively. Oh no. So what's the problem here? What? Node component, the function. Games memory leaderboard. Is it that it needed like a, maybe it needs a page component to go along? Let's create a simple page here. Did it try to reload? Don't really know. Let's create a page.svelte and maybe just have a page heading. Bring that in. So, did I restart this? No. I will take a break because I'm making mistakes again. I have a leaderboard page which says it's leaderboard or leaderboards. Probably an h2 and class text to Excel. Doesn't matter that much, but let's go back to the Svelte form actions docs. And see if we want to hit an action from a different page. From wherever, we can do slash something, which I think is what we've done, right? So let's check again and see if we know how this works. If I've understood correctly how this may work. Games memory leaderboard, which is this. Games memory leaderboard, probably this action, question mark, persist to score. All right, let's see. Try it again. Right, it will try to navigate me there, just because I've mentioned this, but can I do this without navigation? Oh no, is it just the enhance? Maybe it's the enhance that does it, of course. Yeah, maybe that's the easier way to do it. Of course. Right, so without actually enhancing this, should have realized. So I guess I don't even need to pretend I'm submitting this. Or do I? It will hit this action. All right, so the magic question mark will make it hit the action that we want. All right, this is kinda making sense. Maybe I don't want this. Maybe I do. Don't want to enhance. Maybe I don't want a hidden form. Maybe I do want to return to whatever I had before, where in here, in the memory thingy, I did have an action called persist score. In here, I didn't have this. No actions, thank you. No need for this. No need for anything. Skip this page, we'll probably use it later. Let's keep this outside, I guess. Why not? No enhancing here. Still imported, all right. So this creates form data by having the form, which is fair enough. So maybe I will keep the form. For now. But when this happens, form data may be this, and then I do a fetch, won't be invalidating all. From data. I'm gonna be looking at the action of this. This can be asynchronous. The body is gonna be form data. And then action result. I don't want to invalidate all, that's the thing that we want to do, but we do probably want to do something here, but we'll see what. And we want this right, so this form actually, we don't need to do an event handler or anything for this because we're doing everything with JavaScript. And this doesn't return anything, doesn't return like your high score or whatever. It's not cool. So best score of the day is 1. Let's win once again and see what happens. We win, we stay. We return data success true. Can this have anything else? a success, it says. So we can click here to play again, which is great. Would we be able to... Ooh, this disappears. This is interesting. Why did that disappear? Ah, we're in practice mode, of course. When I click to retry, now we automatically go back into practice mode, so you can play a different board, not the one you've been playing all day. But we probably don't want that to be the case, since we do want people to try to get higher scores for and beat their scores for the day. But the question is, if I had beat my high score, this wouldn't update because we would not be invalidating everything. We would want to say, ah, you beat your high score or something like that. So how would we do that? My question is, can we return anything here? Probably, I'm gonna guess. In this case, in the UI, let's derive and say current high score is null, number or undefined. The current high score, say this is the updated high score. The current high score could be what we have in the data, but we only default to that if we don't have an updated high score. Yeah? And I'm only doing that because here where was that? Was it in like data or something? So if this is a number, what we got back, if that's a number, then I want the updated high score to become that number. Which will cause this to recalculate. And then in this place where we're actually showing the high score, here we use this. All right, and what are we actually returning here? We are returning the wrong guesses count. This is not what we want. We do return it if the wrong guesses count is indeed better than the one we had, or else we return this. Alright, should be fine. Let's go through the whole flow. Did I restart this? Whoops, didn't. Right, I'll do this and then do a short break. So delete this, do an bad matching, give myself some leeway to more easily break this afterwards. Right, let's go to day 9. Play again, goes here, we remember, but we go into daily mode again, into practice mode, while we want daily mode here. So if we play again, why am I doing poorly? To get serious. Did I have you on your toes? Did you think we're not gonna make it? Still have time. So I'm hoping that this will update to be 6. It did, behind the scenes. And we can add like some UI to say things like, you've beaten your high score. Cool. Cool. I will definitely forget that we go into practice mode afterwards. We don't want that anymore. And I'm trying to remember, where does that take place? Here, I guess. Alright, so here we redirect to practice mode, which we don't want to do anymore. Now people have a reason to keep playing the daily mode because they want to beat their high score. It's all fine and dandy. And I wanted to, all of this, I guess the reset one, this will always be the same. I never add practice mode. So all we need is this, go here and replay. This should be fine. All right. Once again, open the floor to the chat. Friday, it seems it's more talkative chat. On Saturday, I sneaked one in. I pulled one over you guys, and my lovely regulars are not here. Next Friday, yes. And the next stream, it may be the first one that doesn't have any ads, because I'm very close on hitting the partner threshold with regards to watch time. And if it's just about, I don't know, checking a box or send an email and it's fast, the first thing I'll do if I'm partner is turn off the ads for these things, because I know that you get in the flow with things and then you get an ad, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it now that YouTube is not giving me anything, but it wouldn't be worth it even if it was giving me, you know, £1, £1, £100, doesn't really matter. For these streams, I value more the camaraderie and the interaction than I would any amount of money, really. Well, any amount. If YouTube was giving me 1 million, what would I do? I would probably let that ad play and advise people to get YouTube Premium. Maybe I would even gift subscriptions, I guess, to YouTube Premium. Anyway, everything to keep the flow going is what I'm trying to say. But let's go to the agenda. And we are tracking the high scores, and we've proven that. Now we want to track the personal streaks, so Wordle style. We want to say, if you have played yesterday and you're playing today too, then your streak becomes like 2. And that'd be cool. That's what gets people coming into this page. So let's have a quick think. How would we do that? We now have that cookie persisted with a high score. It has the hash, the current date. Maybe we want a separate cookie to keep track of, like a stats cookie or something. Another thing to check. In this page, we don't have, I was going to say we don't have the high score cookie, but apparently we do. Question is why? The path should be this. I think I know it's because SvelteKit does preload the other pages, so we'll navigate quickly, and then it loads the relevant cookie as well. That's interesting. Cool, even. Anyways, I also noticed that the sound effects on thingy has the secure set. I wonder if that's legacy from before I did the Safari fix here, which it probably is, because it looks like I am setting it with the secure flag according to the HTTPS prefix protocol. Anyway, we're saying we have that high score cookie. Would I need a separate one called stats, which will have like a strict key and the last solved date, and then we check if today's solved date is the same, then we increase the streak. I think so. And we have like a limited amount of bytes of the size for those cookies, but I think it's like more than enough to hold that sort of information, and maybe something else. So that's the plan. Let's start our timer. And close all of the windows to open them again. And say that for the memory game, we have a page server component. And we're doing some stuff when we persist the score. And we have the current high score here, and we get the high score for seed here. And I want to check what else are we doing here? How do we get the daily seed here? All right, so we get current date seed. So after we do all of this, maybe before we do all of this, sorry, if the seed is not the current date seed, then, or if there is no current high score, or something else, we'll see. So we'll want to set another cookie here at some point. We'll want to have a stats cookie, indeed, and maybe we'll have a get stats cookie, I guess. Call this in the right file. Get stats cookie. Stats. No need for that. Just return. So if we have a stats cookie, we JSON parse it. and return it, or else it's null. Sure. And the stats cookie is gonna be gotten like this. And then we can say if we don't have a stats cookie, and the seed you gave us is not the current date seed, if there is no stats cookie, for sure, we want you to set a stats cookie. And we can have these helpers be in one file at some point. That's an interesting factor, so we don't have to remember these keys or export variables for them. But what's this thing gonna be? Maybe if there is no stats cookie at all, let's do it ugly and see if we can improve it later. So if there is no stats cookie, we want to the next stats cookie to be, interesting. The GitHub Copilot wants me to hash it with the current date seed, which probably don't want. Last played is then, and the streak is 1. Right, you just started your streak. That's your next stats cookie. And we want to JSON parse it. And that's it. We want to stringify it. The other way around. Still keep it here. Don't keep it for 1 day, keep it for 10 years. At least. Right, else, if there is a stats cookie, it's already been parsed, and maybe I want to check the previous date. But let's make it easy, I suppose, for now. Let's say the next stats cookie is the stats cookie streak +1. But of course, for the getStats cookie, it doesn't return a number. It returns a stats cookie. It returns stats. And the stats has whatever we decided here. So last played string. And streak number. And that's what we return, or not. So if we have a next stats cookie, then we increase the streak and override the date and all of that. And that's gonna work. But we also want to check, was your last played? Do we want to be ruthless like Wordle? So if you miss a date, then you break your streak? Maybe not. Do we want to increase it every day? Every time you play? All right, so maybe we can have two things. Maybe we can have a times played, a games played type of thing in our cookie, and a streak, and then everyone is happy. total dailies. So let's export this to remember it should be. Well, not there. So if you haven't had this cookie, your streak and your total dailies is 1. We definitely increase your dailies by 1. But the question is, do we increase your streak? And the question is GitHub Copilot correct? So if the last blade is the current date seed, then we increase the streak, but that's not correct. We want, if your last date, if it's 1 day earlier, then we increase the streak. How do we do that? Who knows? So let's check what we're storing here. Seeds are like this. What happens if we create a date object? Doesn't quite work. This works. Right, so this is yesterday. And I think I have a way to like add a day. See, this is yesterday, but this is today. So let's say that yesterday we had this. And the question would be, so this is the last played date. And the next from last played date. I was doing some setting of dates at some point. Let's check a little bit of our auth logic. So in the user repo, I refresh the session according to some checks of whether the expiry date of the cookie is within 6 days or something like that. So I figure if you have a new date object, this is today, but if you do set date with the current date plus whatever, you know, however many days you want, you get the new date there, if that makes sense. So this is actually the next date for streak. And we want to do the same thing as I did here. So on the next date from streak, this mutates the date, unfortunately. It's gonna be the current date plus 1. So from your last play date, if you add 1, that's the next date you should be now. And that would mean now, can I format this somehow and check? How do I get the seed again? How do I get the seed? Get date from seed, get seed from date. What do I do? What do we do here? Ah, twice a string and slice. Sure. And say that the has seed for next date for streak should be this. Therefore, the streak should be, if my seed for next date for streak is the current date streak, then the streak gets incremented, or else it becomes 1. I'm afraid you start over. And then we use this here. And yeah, this is a perfect case for unit testing, for sure. But let's go on. Let's double check in the editor. So let's say that our next day for streak is this, but our has from yesterday would have been this. And then we add 1 day. And then we try to get our has of the next day, and I'm hoping that this will be 2022-9-24. Great, it means it will match the streak that we sent, the seed that we sent. So it will increment the streak, and we'll have 2. Great. And all of this happens if you don't have a stats cookie and the seed is not equal to the current date seed. We do that, so why do we do that? Why did I do that? For no reason, I guess. If the seed you send me is not today, that's never gonna happen. So let's, I'm not using this elsewhere, right? I'm using it here. So let's forget this. If there is no stats cookie, we want to start like this. Easy. If there is a stats cookie, then I guess, right, so now I think I know why. So if the stats cookie last played is not the current date seed, if it is, it means we've updated it and we don't need to update it again. So only if your stats cookie is from yesterday or from a day that's not today, do all of this logic. All right. Not too bad. And then we still do the same things regarding storing the high scores. Let's start a streak. So we do have this stats object. Who knows what it does? We'll want to show your stats somewhere. Maybe when you win. That doesn't feel correct. So we change something in the board at some point. The reset here. We're going to the URL. We're saying the wrong guesses is this. What was this before? Ah, we're doing this. Of course, we're reloading. That's the thing we want to always do. Actually, just reload. Right. So, where to display the stats? But of course, this shouldn't be called get stats cookie. It should be just called get stats. And then we can return them. And where would we say this? Somewhere, I guess, here in the UI. Let's prove that we have them. Maybe after the board. Great. Let's find an apostrophe somewhere. From Wikipedia. Say you've completed. Completed this many dailies total, right? Completed your first daily. How big are these guys? These folks. Price hard. Cool. Steal this, put it up there. All right, and see you tomorrow to see if this actually increments the next day. So if these stats do not exist, then I saw nothing. But if we do have them, then we saw this. If completed 2 dailies total. If I log in 2 days from now, then that should increment to 2, but my streak would be 1 again because I missed 1 day. Makes sense. Let's complete the game again for the fun of it, prove that it works, and I think that's where we're gonna call it a stream for today. I know that people are very excited about the Supabase stuff, so I think I'll dedicate a stream on it. Ah, interesting. We haven't done this part where this should update if it's the next day, but of course we have no way to do this. We've proven that nothing breaks. That's cool, for sure. But the question is, this data won't get invalidated. This data won't get invalidated. I wonder if on the server here we were loading from a different endpoint, like the stats and streaks endpoint, and then we can say invalidate everything that's in the leaderboards, I guess, directory. So then these server actions would actually be staying on leaderboards. That's probably something for me to think about. And so the next time I will try to upload this soon, so you can play as well if you'd like. And for next time it would be, if you are logged in, you should be able to go to a leaderboards page and see who else has submitted a solve for the day, which should be fun. And as always, comment on the videos, comment on this stream, let me know what you'd like to see. It's not gonna be memory game forever. But it is going to be that if there are no other suggestions of things to try. So the next one, the plan would be more Supabase stuff. So I will probably have a look at making these a bit better offline, the cookie stuff offline. I will make them better, maybe talk about them at the opening of the stream. But what we'll be doing next is more Supabase stuff. I did have stuff open here about how we're using row level securities and all of that sort of rule. And we were gonna create a new table, but that's what we're gonna do next time. Create a leaderboard table or something like that, where we can keep track of how people have solved things here. I think it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if we're gonna use RPC, which I didn't know about until I started playing with Supabase, even though it's a Postgres thing. I'm quite fascinated by it. I find it quite useful. But yeah, I think we're just about gonna call this a stream. So one last gulp for me and for you to ask questions. Anything you want, can be tech related, can be gaming related as well. I've started playing Return to Monkey Island. One of my favorite games of all time was the original Monkey Islands, and Curse, the third one. I was fascinated by it. I loved the art, I loved the voice acting, I loved the humor in there. I think maybe nowadays it's not as cool to like that one. You're supposed to like the second one, Let's Axe Returns, or whatever that was called, which was great when I played it during the HD remasters. I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't believe I managed to go through either of those games when I was little. I must have had all the time in the world and literally clicked through everything, try to combine everything to everything else, because some of the puzzles were outrageous. But the third one, I think, had a better, like, it had some crazy puzzles, I guess. But maybe when I was younger, I played it on like the easier mode, which had more reasonable puzzles. But mostly it was about the voice acting, the, how did they call it, the insult sword fighting, the rhyming insult sword fighting. That was amazing. And I did stick through the series throughout the years, but it's amazing to see Ron Gilbert and more of the original team returning for this one, for Return to Monkey Island. And I've been enjoying it so far. Fun puzzles, a few red herrings, but nothing where when you figure out the actual puzzle solution, you're like, what happened there? They have been satisfying. There is like one scene that I think is a bit too much. That does something on tells us something about Guy Brass's character that I didn't particularly enjoy. But hey, if the writer is behind it and that's who he thinks Guy Brass is, gotta respect that. But yeah, lots of fun. I don't know how much more game I have to go through, but I do think I will finish the weekend by finishing that game for sure. Did also finish Tinykin on Game Pass, which has been a fun game. Like short games, fun games, that's the best way to make me go through a whole game nowadays. Or Elden Ring, I guess I managed to go through that one as well. Alright, with that, I will bid you adieu. Keep an eye on the channel for the next stream. We will be doing Friday, for sure. If I think I can show something interesting about Godot or game development, I will try to sneak another stream there. But this is gonna be it for today. It was a pleasure to stream. It always encourages me. It always makes time go by faster. When I do it, more pleasurable, for sure. And I hope to see you again. Have lovely weekends, everybody. And goodbye.